Hey guys, it's Liv here. In today's video, we're going to be using a team built around Great Tusk. It's currently one of the best Pokemon in OU, and if you want to try this team yourself, link to the team as well as the rental code will be down below. If you guys enjoy the content at any point and you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a like on the video, and comment what Pokemon you guys want to see next. With that said, let's get right into it. First up in this team, we do have Sandy Shocks, I should say. This is an amazing water type killer, which is amazing considering the fact that waters are one of the better sponges, typically at least, since a lot of them lean more phys-def, stuff like Dondozo, for example. This is an amazing offensive piece for Dondozo, as well as for Garganacl, which is another decent offensive piece, especially considering the fact that typically Garganacl at the very least would be able to go for something like a Terra Ghost, and it would become a lot more of a defensive sponge, at least to our Great Tusk set that we have today. So having Sandy Shocks here as just a really good special breaker will be very beneficial. We have Spikes in the set as well, which is amazing just to try and get some long-term hazard chip. Though I will say on Choice Spec Sandy Shocks, I found it personally a little difficult to pull this off, at least in terms of setting the spikes, though they're still very valuable fourth move here, and truthfully, you don't really need much else. With our next Pokemon, we do have Scizor. We're actually a Terrestrial Fire set with Terra Blast, Bullet Punch, U-Turn, and Sword Stance. Terra Fire, in my opinion, is probably the best Terra type you can go with this, as it's really good for stuff like opposing Scizors or Corviknight matchups that Scizor would otherwise maybe struggle a bit with. But more importantly, it also helps a lot with the Magnezone matchup. With our 205 speed, this should be good. I want to say, I know that you're going to outpace a lot of base 80s that have no speed, but I'm forgetting what specifically in the tier this would be like handled for, as far as like a no speed creep. I know you also outpace a lot of other random stuff, but I'm not really sure. This is actually one of the current OU samples right now, so I don't even have the notes to really ask for regarding that. But with 156 speed, I'm assuming this is probably something that's like outpacing currently ran Magnezone speeds or maybe Corviknight speed tiers, but again, it would be something I would need to look further into, I'll be honest. Moving on to our next Pokemon though, we do have ROTOM-WASH with the Choice Scarf. With the Choice Scarf from ROTOM-WASH, this is designed for being able to be a really good trick piece, as well as for enabling Rotom to be a really good burn option for stuff like Chien-Pao, for example, that are honestly just really annoying in the tier. With our current 282 speed, I want to say this outpaces Dragapult. This looks like it's a perfect Dragapult creep, actually, as far as our speed tier goes, which is amazing because we've seen a lot of Bandit Dragapult running around OU, and yeah, this is a perfect Dragapult creep. With the Volt Switch and Hydro Pump, of course, two really reliable stab options, with Pump being great for stuff like Chiyu matchups, especially versus Spec stats, and Volt Switch is just great momentum going on. Speaking of Dragapult though, we do have a Choice Specs Dragapult coming up. We've stopped running the typical Bandit set that I've been running recently, and we opted for Specs, because Pull is most likely not going to be our Terramon actually this game. I might still have some merit, to be fair, and we do actually have a Terrestrial Dark on this moveset, mostly just to try and take a little bit less from potential Sucker Punches, which I would say is the more common priority type we've been facing in the tier recently. Though Shard is still really good, we're fighting Sucker Punch on Pokemon such as Kingambit as well as Chien-Pao, both of which are very terrifying. So I wanted to go with Terrestrial. Well, I should say the team goes Terrestrial Dark here. Again, didn't build the team. But we do have a Choice Spec set though, with U-Turn being great momentum. Flamethrower is amazing for stuff like Kingambit matchups. And again, that Terrestrial Dark will play very into this moveset actually being Kingambit, because we could potentially just go for Terrestrial Dark here and then Flamethrower our way through. I've actually done it a few times when testing team on the ladder, and it is so satisfying. With Shadow Ball and Draco, they're just primary stabs, and they're so deadly against most of this tier. Up next, we do have Great Tusk with the Rocky Helmet. Great Tusk, in my opinion, and this moveset has probably been one of my favorites. We have Body Press, which is amazing damage output with a Phys-Def set, and with the Impish Nature, we're only boosting that even further. With Rocky Helmet, this turns Great Tusk into an amazing Phys-Def wall that ends up chipping Pokemon that are going for random U-turns, or stuff like Garchomp, for example. This is an amazing lead option versus that. With Knockoff, we're removing stuff like helmets, leftovers, boots, etc. Especially with the boots, we're able to then make Pokemon that might be running boots that are more grounded options, like for example our Scizor or our next Mon, which I'll get into in a bit, then now need to be forced into taking Spikes damage, which is very valuable here. With the with the Earthquake, it's just a really good stab option, and we don't really want to go with Headlong here because the goal is for Great Tusk to be taking hits as long as possible with this moveset, so there's no reason to drop our defenses. Finally, we do have Rapid Spin, which is just to clear hazards. Again, I mentioned this is a really good option against Garchomp, and that's another route that plays into this. Final mon on the team is Roaring Moon. Now, this is a spit off Roaring Moon, actually, that I've seen going around a lot. Harris put me onto this, actually, my good pal, one of my OU builders, Harris. He was talking about how Roaring Moon had a set that was being used specifically to check Chi-Yu, and this is the moveset. It's a really good spit off option. With our primary stabs, we're able to take on any sort of common Chi-Yu route, and with Terrestrial-Fairy, which is the Terrestrial type on this moveset, we're now a Dragapult check. So this is basically just meant to check 2 of the more offensive Pokemon of the tier, which personally, I am a huge fan of. U-turn's great for keeping momentum, Earthquake is great for, as I said, Chi-Yu, and Dragon Tail is great just to try and phase out setup options that might try and set up on my potential Roaring Moon, thinking they can force it out, because with Terra Fairy, we're just such a deadly Terra type. With Roost, it's just really here to keep recovery up, and yeah, that's our team. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and with that said, let's get into the battle. Peace out, guys. Hey guys, it's Liv here. In today's video, we're going to be doing another OU Wi-Fi battle. Today, we're taking on a team consisting of Lucario, Breloom, Annihilate, Electros. Ooh, Electros is interesting. Tinkaton, and Hydreigon. So we do need to be a bit careful here, because my opponent actually does have Electros, which if you guys didn't know, Electros actually, thanks to Terrestrial this generation, can Terrestrial into Terrestrial Electric, and it has no weaknesses, so we got to be very careful about that. I'm sure everyone has heard this joke a million times, but if you guys enjoy, of course, enjoyed the battle, leave a like below and subscribe. Leave a like below and subscribe, I should say. Oh my god, sorry, I can't talk, I just woke up. But with that said, as far as their lead goes, their only rocker ends up being the Annihilate here or the Tinkaton. So both of which actually have a pretty bad matchup in terms of my Great Tusk. I think it's a solid lead against both options here, so I'm going to go with that. I also have a good lead with Sandy Shocks, to be fair, but Sandy Shocks, I would have a little bit of a tough time, specifically against Breloom. Whereas I think if nothing else, if I let off, well, I guess Great Tusk does too, because I was going to say I could just Rapid Spin up and then try and go for some sort of Earthquake then. But to be fair, my opponent would probably just Bullet Seed me raw, and that wouldn't be great either. They're going to lead off with Breloom here. Okay, so that's fine. So as far as my lead goes, they're probably going to go for Spore turn 1. I think that ultimately it's my best interest to go for, I think I want to go for the Rapid Spin, I can't lie. I feel like the Rapid Spin's really decent. Body Press also would be good. I think I'm actually going to go for Body Press. There's no reason to Rapid Spin immediately, except for the fact, I guess, that they're faster, so maybe I should have Rapid Spun. We're going to regardless break them down to their Focus Sash, which should be decent, or at least break them out of their Sash if they have it. We're going to go hard into Scizor here. The Scizor should, if nothing else, be a decent option to switch into Bullet Seed, which I do believe they're going to click here, either that or Spore. If they click Spore, then they just completely got me. Bullet Seed, okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't taking Bullet Seed with the Great Tusk, because at +2, that's when that becomes a scary attack. So we're going to just go for a Bullet Punch here. The Bullet Punch should do a good amount of damage, if nothing else, and it's kind of the only thing I can click. Because if my opponent ends up deciding, like, I could totally try and play around the potential for my opponent to swap here, which is pretty likely, to be fair. But at the same time, though, if I don't go for Bullet Punch, then I need to make sure that I'm not losing Scizor to another 4-hit set in case of this thing getting, I guess, really lucky with Bullet Seed rolls again. I think 3 would honestly even be enough to take me out, so I can't really risk that. They're going to switch out, though, thankfully, and they're going to bring in, oh, okay, I don't know what this is. Tinkaton, okay, so Tinkaton I'm fine with, actually. I might get rid of my Terrestrial right away on this, actually, but at the same time, I feel like we still died to Gigaton Hammer, and we're probably better off clicking Bullet Punch here, because both hits are going to be resisted, whether we Terrestrial Fire or Terrestrial Steel, but Terrestrial Fire, Terra Blast would obviously do a lot more damage. I think, though, that it's in my best interest to just click Bullet Punch because of the priority. And that way, then we don't even need to risk my opponent maybe also going for Terrestrial Steel, because that would be pretty bad. I do have a lot of good Terrestrial options here, to be fair. Outside of Scizor, I still have good Terrestrial options, such as Roaring Moon with Terrestrial Fairy, which is amazing. As well as, I don't know. I'm not sure what else I would like here, but I like Roaring Moon a lot, actually. It does offer me a really good Hydreigon check, especially if they're not Terrestrial Steel. That would honestly probably be my Terrestrial mon of choice this game, since their only actual Steel counter is Lucario. It does not look like the Terrestrial Steel Hydreigon. And okay, so we're going to trade Scizor, but this is honestly fine. So Scizor going down isn't too big of a deal. We've basically killed Hydreigon. We have basically killed Breloom, so I'll take this. They're going to proceed to go for Dark Pulse here, which is fine. I'm actually going to go into Roaring Moon and click U-turn, because my opponent is most likely going to end up they're probably going to go for some sort of Dark Pulse here if they can, or if they can't go for Dark Pulse, they're going to switch because they're Scarfed. And either way, it would be fine for me because I'm getting momentum here. And despite burning my Terrestrial Fairy here, I'm pretty okay with this, considering the fact that I think long term it will ultimately benefit me more going for this, despite the fact that I'm now basically forced into a weaker role versus stuff like Lucario. I think I'm okay with this. I will say the Eel will be a little annoying for the set, mostly just because of the fact that my only way to damage it sufficiently would be Dragon Tail or U-turn. So I'll need to be a bit careful with how I play that, but otherwise I should be fine. We're going to U-turn on Lucario though, and I think I'm going to proceed to bring in Sandy Shocks. Sandy Shocks just outpaces this thing immediately. I could go into Rotom too, to be fair. I could also go into Lucario even. Not Lucario, Dragapult even. My opponent doesn't have great switches to this, but I think I'm going to wait on Dragapult a little bit, because I do see a lot of merit in just clicking Volt Switch here. I also see a lot of merit in clicking Spikes, to be fair, but I think I'm going to hold off on the Spikes solely because the fact the mon I want to damage most would be Electros, and I cannot damage that with Spikes. So we're going to click Volt Switch here. This should still OK Lucario. I can't imagine that Specs Volt Switch doesn't. Beautiful. Okay, so their Fairy Killer is gone now, which is really huge for us. I think that I'm going to bring in... I want to just bring in Breloom, in all honesty. I will say... Well, no, I can't bring in... Not Breloom, Roaring Moon. Because I would outpace Breloom with this. And on top of that as well, the only things that would actually threaten me would be Tinkaton if it's Jolly, and then Electros just because I can't really damage it sufficiently. I think that with that in mind, actually, I'm going to go into Rotom here. I'm going to Volt Switch if specifically the Breloom comes in. Actually, I think I'm going to Volt Switch on everything that would come in. No matter what the mon is, I'm going to Volt Switch. The exception would be Annihilate, but actually, no, I think I'm going to Volt Switch in that anyway. Because Terrestrial Fire has been going around a lot for Annihilate recently, and I don't want to even tempt fate with that. That is such a terrifying option. They're going to go into Eel here, though, which is fine. I think they're going to get a slow Volt Switch on me. But just in case, I'm actually going to go into my... I'm going to go into my Iron... Not my Iron Hands, my Sandy Shocks. My Sandy Shocks should be pretty decent, if nothing else, to Volt Switch here into... I'm going to go into the Great Tusk, I think. They're going to actually go for Giga Drain here. Okay, Giga Drain is fine. To be fair, makes a lot of sense, actually. Good play by my opponent. It was a really solid way for them to be able to just get some recovery back. I think I want to go into Roaring Moon. Not Roaring Moon. Well, I could go into Roaring Moon, to be fair. Because I know I was talking about how I can't really damage them, but I also can't really see a way that they would damage... No, this thing gets Flash Cannon, never mind. I'm going to go into Rotom, actually, and I'm going to trick this thing a Scarf. I know they're going for Giga Drain, and that's fine, but most of their team would actually hate having a Scarf. Whether it's this Electros, which I'm going to guess is Assault Vest, or maybe we give Tinkaton a Scarf, which is great because it can't click Tinkaton Hammer sufficiently. Maybe we end up giving a Scarf to Breloom, which would be great because it can't set up Sword Stance. Ultimately, I was going to Eel. I'm fine with this. It's probably Assault Vest. I don't mind losing my burn chance here, truthfully. In exchange for making this thing no longer be able to do anything besides blocking moves, I think this is ultimately worth it in the end. So my opponent's locked into Giga Drain here. I'm going to go into Dragapult. Dragapult should be able to get a pretty nice U-turn at this point. So we're going to just go into Dragapult, and I think I'm just going to click U-turn. I could also probably justify clicking Shadow Ball here, to be fair. We are Specs, and their team actually doesn't have a good switch into that. I like Shadow Ball, actually. Yeah, we'll click Spec Shadow Ball, just in case they stay in anyway. They might sack this, to be fair, and I do kind of need this gone, so then I can damage their team with Roaring Moon. So they're going to bring in Epitaph the Sociable. This is the Annihilate. Okay, perfect. So they would basically need to be Scarfed to actually get off any damage this turn, which even if they are Scarfed, I'm pretty okay with that. They're actually just going to die here. I kind of thought that they would be some... Well, no, I guess because they were a bulky set, they probably still died to Specs anyway. We are Spec Shadow Ball. Looking at their team, they don't have a good switch into Spec Shadow Ball, truthfully. I'm trying to think of what they go into. It's probably Tinkaton. It's almost certainly Tinkaton, unless they're Hydreigon Scarf. They are probably Scarf Hydreigon. Okay. So this is interesting, actually. My opponent's in a bit of a predicament here. I think ultimately this is solved by going into Rotom. I can't burn anything anymore. So ultimately, for example, my best check for Tinkaton would be Sandy Shocks at this point. My best check for Breloom is probably going to go into... Probably going into Great Tusk and going for Body Press, truthfully. For Breloom, it's easily Hydreigon and clicking U-turn, and for, not Hydreigon, Roaring Moon and clicking U-turn. I don't know why I'm fucking up Mon names so much today. I'm so sorry. Okay, so they went for Draco. I'm just going to bring in Roaring Moon here. I know for a fact they're Scarfed. And even if they're not Scarfed, they're not doing anything with a -2 Flash Cannon here. So I'm pretty okay with this. We're going to go for U-turn. U-turn is insanely free damage here, in my opinion. If they're going to go into Eel, that's fine. I get in Great Tusk for free and go for Body Press. If they're going to go into Breloom, that's fine. I go into Pult, I guess. So I think this is Eel. No, this is Tinkaton. Okay, Tinkaton's also fine. I go into DRAGAPULT and I click Shadow Ball. Or actually, no, I go into Sandy Shocks. I go into Sandy Shocks and I click Volt Switch. I think it's my play. Because going for Volt Switch here, they would need to go for Terra Ground on Tinkaton. Which if they go for Terra Ground on Tinkaton, I'm fine with that as well. I would just proceed to bring in DRAGAPULT later on. But I feel like there's no reason to try and play around potential Terra Fairy with DRAGAPULT. Or maybe like a Terra Water with DRAGAPULT, which I think are much more likely Terra types than Ground would be. But again, if they go for Ground, I'm not exactly against this. We should do a ton of damage to this. Oh my god, that actually chewed. That chewed way too well. Holy shit. Okay. Well, I need to go into Great Tusk then. This will take helmet damage, which should be pretty decent for me. I can't see this actually KOing us, especially with how little we did to it. Yeah, okay, so this is 3 KO. Beautiful. They're going to take Rocky Helmet, which should be fine. I'll proceed to go for Body Press here. They lost to their Ghost type and Annihilate, which means this move is now actually very low drawback. So Great Tusk is about to completely destroy their team. I think there might be merit in clicking Rapid Spin, actually. I'm going to click Rapid Spin. The only thing that would be threatened by this would specifically be if Hydreigon comes in, which if Hydreigon comes in hard here, it's dead. So I'm pretty okay with that. They're going to go into Zaplarang. I think this is Eel, actually. Okay. So Eel coming in here is actually also really good for me. Despite the fact that Eel is going to get some good recovery with Giga Drain here, and it probably will take us out, truthfully, I should still be fine because we're going to get enough damage to where we'll be able to start doing nearly just Oko range. Oh, they're going to go for Liquidation. Okay, I really thought they clicked Giga Drain here. I think they won if they click Giga Drain. Well, no, let me rephrase. They're very far from winning the game. Pult was able to come in very easily and still smash. What happened, though, was they could have taken out Great Tusk if they clicked Giga Drain. Because Giga Drain would have done so much damage, considering this thing is like no Spidef, and they know that I'm Helmet and Fizdef from everything else. But we'll take taking out Eel. We'll take this for sure. Breloom can no longer actually take me out at this point because I just body press it for free. They have to go into Hydreigon here, objectively speaking, which is really amazing for us, actually. They're going to go into Capiles. This is the Breloom. Okay, so I think they forgot about the speed boost from Rapid Spin. Either that or they're just kind of maybe their Hydreigon's not Scarf and they were bluffing it really well. Maybe they're going to go for Mach Punch. There's a lot of different things, I guess, to be fair. But Breloom is definitely gone, that's for sure. And then if Tinkaton comes in again, I'm just going to go for Earthquake on that. So yeah, I think Great Tusk might have clutched it. It might have honestly like really easily clutched it. Regardless, I think my play is always letting Sandy Shocks go down here. I want to say letting Sandy Shocks go down here. But I think truthfully sacking Tusk might also have some merit. I'm gonna sack Tusk actually, I think regardless. Tusk and Sandy Shocks both did plenty in this match. Proving of course the past Paradox Mons are so much better than the future ones. In my opinion, at least, I think they're a lot better. But comment down below. I guess comment question of the day. If you made it this far, I haven't done any in a while, but I want to try and bring them back. Comment question of the day, though. What do you think are the better Paradox Pokemon? Past Paradox or future Paradox? Personally, I think it's past. I think the past ones have proven to be a lot more lethal. For example, Fluttermane, which I will say, to be fair, I think everyone was caught off guard by Fluttermane being the absolute best to Paradox Pokemon, besides the one commenter who's going to say they knew from the beginning before they even saw the stats this is the best one, or stats and typing I should say. Besides them, they were pretty cool, I guess, but everyone else didn't think it was the best. They thought it would be like top 3, self included. I thought it would be 3rd. I thought Valiant would be the best at first. It's proven to be a bit underwhelming though. Not to say it's bad, just I feel like that Roaring Moon at least is as good as it because of Terra, whereas Valiant benefits a lot more from booster energy. Stuff like Fluttermane was better. Bundle was, I think, the clear standout. Truthfully, Bundle was the one that caught me off guard. I will say I was one of the people I think that thought it might be Uber. I did not think it would get banned before Moon and Valiant, though. Let's see. There was also stuff like, for example, I didn't think Tusk would be as top tier as it was, albeit I knew it would be OU. But Tusk has proven to be a monster in this tier. New Lando, I think, fit pretty well. I just didn't think it would hold up to like the S ranking of Lando. I kind of thought the next best one would have been maybe Moth. Moth was one I'm a little shocked isn't doing as well. Same as Slitherwing. Despite the fact I'm not surprised it's Yu, I'm a little shocked Slitherwing isn't as viable as it could have been. But yeah, I mean, Great Tusk though, proving why it's honestly an OU monster this game. This mon is truly incredible. So if you guys want to try this team down below, make sure you click the rental or click the Pokepaste or use the rental code down below in the description. And if you want to check out links to things such as Twitter and Discord where you can stay up to date on future content, those will also be down below. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe, comment what you want to see next, and shout out to our channel members, of course, being Josh K Ultra Player, Mia, Zeke Zero, Nox Nocturnal, and Matt O'Shea. Your guys' support on the vids is greatly appreciated. And if you want to become a channel member, make sure to click the link down below for the join button. For just a couple dollars a month, you get some extra bonus content that the members do end up deciding through weekly polls. So with that said, I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video where we're going to be taking on the Battle Spot ladder again. Until then, peace out, guys.